Hello, everybody. Welcome back
Wow.
to the
Hello.
Backbenchers podcast. I'm here with Ritty and Deli. We're back again. The group is
We're
back.
back.
We're reunited. They fired us. And we said, no, not today. We take over today.
Yeah.
Screw Sam. Screw Jordan. Screw all those nice people. I don't care about them. We're here, and we're here to give our opinions. How are we feeling, guys? Are you excited? Excited to get into it?
Woo. Very excited.
Yeah.
And this was a great episode. So I'm so keen to get into it. Talk about all the things. We have a lot to unpack today. So
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot that happened in this episode. I feel like there's a lot to discuss. We've almost kind of had to rework the podcast routine to kind of fit so much in because there was so much action. We have a lot of stuff involved. We have a lot more fan involvement for this one, which should be really, really cool. We got our first one, which we want to ask, which is a cool little pod cue, which I'm actually going to ask you guys first. But people in the comments, please let us know. The question of the day: how have you been watching this season? So guys, can you guys let me know? How have you guys been watching and enjoying the season so far?
How have we been watching, Deli?
yes. Go ready, let us know.
I was going to say, well, I think I've watched the first 2 episodes with Deli. Deli's come over to mine. We've had a little bit of a watch party. Really good to chew the fat as the episode goes live.
And then we did have one of those episodes we did watch with Pauline, who, is on the cast. So that was really exciting with her partner, Lockie. And then, watched it solo on Friday. But I think that was so then I was ready to, come on the podcast today with Ritty and be able to kind of share our viewpoints here. But it'd be awesome to know where other people have been. I know that one of friends of the podcast and the show, Aston, watched with Charlene and Jay. And, sad face when Jay was voted off. And so that would be, to have that support around would be very appreciative. But yeah, it would be really cool to know what other people have been doing. If we can get more people together here in Canberra to watch, because I think it's just more fun that way. To have more ideas, to hear what people are thinking. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll say mine. My last few have been kind of watching a little bit all over the place. I watched half of mine on a plane, and then half of it on another plane, and then half of it at work. So it was a bit of a hectic week, but I really am enjoying the episodes. I think they're very good. We got one comment here, our first comment, just watching it with my dogs and dad.
Aww.
Classic, gets the job done, nice and quick. Love that. Love support of the family. Hell yeah. Love getting the family involved. Love that. I wonder who the dog's fan favorite is. Who do you think? Maybe Oscar? Maybe? But yes, if you guys we'll kind of be, if you guys want to answer the question as we're going along, feel free, we'll chuck it in. We'll leave it up for a little bit. But yeah, a lot happens this episode. We'll try and get into it as quickly as possible. Oh, actually, we'll pop up here. They love Andrew. That's a good pick. Very good pick. That's a very good pick. Let me just get a little shout out to Deli.
Yes, that's my mum. So
that's so cute. I love that stuff.
She did post on the first one, and we had way too much to talk about, so then we couldn't give a shout out. But thanks, Mum, for watching.
I'm glad you're in there. I'm glad we got to show that off. But yes, there's. I love what you said. We had so much to talk about. Thanks. We have so much to talk about now. Starting off with a little bit of a sad note. Swamp of Sadness is how we kind of started this episode. Unfortunately, Amy went in the first boot of her tribe. So first question is, obviously you guys haven't been really involved in the podcast for the first couple episodes. What are you guys' thoughts on Jay and Amy in general and the people that they head into the Swamp of Sadness?
Well, I think the J vote was just an unlucky one, right? Like it went to the 2 votes and they had a couple of flips and unfortunately Jay went out. Amy was a bit of a sad one. I think that was that was really unlucky. I think she just wasn't part of the conversations. And I think I could see that she was a bit sad going to the Swamp of Sadness, but it was good to see. Hopefully she perked up when she had a good chat with Jay down there in the swamp.
Yeah, I like adding on from that, like her ideas and feelings for why that she got voted out. were really heartbreaking. You know, I think again, like you just kind of go to those things that you were already worried about, and the fact that, you know, like it wasn't any of those things at all.
No.
It was like social play / the way that people just wanted to frame it to see her as a big threat. And so I was really stoked that in the Swamp of Sadness, she did get kind of her redemption, and, you know, is there to see another day. Like I was, very much between the two of them. I was really rooting for Amy just because I think her story isn't finished yet. And, you know, also for the way that she was feeling, having her have a win like that was just truly awesome.
Yeah, I definitely felt that with Amy, she had a lot left to give. That's what I felt. I felt Jay, I'm not saying Jay, like there's obviously Jay, similar thing, would have had stuff to give as well. I'm not saying that at all, but I definitely felt like specifically with Amy, I was like, she went because she was a threat. And they went for a big threat early. They didn't go for the easy vote. I felt like Jay was a unanimous. The vote, like as in people jumped on it because they were like, "Yep, I'm happy to go with Jay." Whereas Amy was, she's a threat. We've got to get rid of her now. She could be a big issue in the future. And so I think that's definitely something that was sucked about that. And so I'm happy that she got to. So something that I want to discuss before we hop into the challenge is a question. So something that she said that really piqued my interest was the idea of the classic idea of seeking vengeance on people who don't want you, is what she said. You know, and so what's everyone's thoughts on the idea of eliminated players seeking revenge on the people that, you know, like basically, like, do you think it's fair that if someone votes you out that they should come in and give you the same courtesy, or do you think that's a little bit, you know, you got to learn to let stuff go in this game?
I think in either way, like it's kind of fun to have a bit of a, like, you know, venture. It's the same thing as being a villain. It's like if you're there and it's like, I want to get revenge, this is where I'm feeling, like, you know, and in the end, if she does come back, they're going to tell her why. You know, it's like, it's a shame that she's going to be feeling that way, but hopefully, you know, if another Ginandera person comes to the Swamp of Sadness, that they may be able to tell her like the story and she won't be feeling that for too long. But I think sometimes it's like whatever is your motivation to get you through is what you have to do. So
yeah, 100%, because quite a few of them in the post chat, they were talking about how much they really liked her. Like there was I think everyone was pretty sad that they had to vote her out. And I think it was just a case of she just wasn't in the right conversations at the right time to influence that vote, which probably came out at the last minute.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and that's what sucks is like, because I've been to a lot of these LRGs, filming them, and I've dealt with many first boots. I was literally one of the edge of extinction people for a Sydney Survivor, and I got to deal with the first 5 people that got voted out, and it sucks. Every single person processes it very differently. I felt like Jay handled it pretty well. I think Amy's definitely has some things that she's had to deal with, but I think that's part of what the whole point of Swamp of Sadness is like I said, what Jay said with the rejuvenation aspect of it. So yeah, moving on to the challenge. Oh, I'm going back to here. Chase says, if you vote me off, I investigate. I'm sorry about spending mine. Oh, yes. So we got a cutthroat player here with Chase. I love that though. That though. And that's what happens. I feel like it either goes either way. It's either one, you kind of adapt and you grow and you understand that things, it's a fast-paced game, that things happen. And that can go a certain way. It can also be bad. Like some people come back into a game and play the whole, I don't have any issues. And they just get rid of you because they want to go, let's not worry about it. Whereas if sometimes you play cutthroat and lie, and they believe you, and then, you know, you get rid of them. So I think it's really dependent on the situation. I hope Amy figures it out, and I'd love to see her back into the game, personally.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that the Swamp of Reflection or the Swamp of Rejuvenation, you know, keeps on. You know, the wise words of Jay and Dan will continue on through Amy, but who knows? We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, so moving on to the challenge, obviously we just kind of semi-touched on it, but obviously it was quite a simple challenge, chucking the things onto a pole and then doing the puzzle. I felt like it was definitely a one of like, if you get into a lead, it's kind of hard to catch up, which is good. Jay used a very unique strategy of throwing everything at the kitchen sink. What was everyone's thoughts on that? I was a bit surprised. It worked. I was surprised it worked, but when he threw those 3 at the same time, I went, there's no chance this is working.
I was on the same page as you, Marcus. I thought, oh my God, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Don't do that. Then you have to run and get them all again, and then you're going to miss again. But you're right. It did work. He got 2 in one go.
Yeah.
But it was a challenge where I think if you got an unassailable lead, if you got the 3 on the wooden frame, I think it was pretty much hard to pass from there. And I think it's kind of ironic that Amy said when she was going to the Swamp of Sadness that it was her physical prowess that they might have voted her on, but it was actually her physical prowess that got her through this challenge and actually probably got her the win too.
Yep. 100% agree. And I think that's such funny you say that. So then the next question, I'll ask Deli this question, is Amy is known for her puzzle strength. And I feel like with the LRGs that I've experienced, a lot of the battleback challenges, like because the game is the focus, the battlebacks often can be like, let's quick challenge. And what's a quick challenge? Quick challenge is a puzzle. Yeah. So for me, it's like as soon as I saw that they were doing a puzzle, I went, wow, like Amy is someone where if it's maybe a normal Australian Survivor, it's this huge physical challenge that maybe she wouldn't be someone you'd naturally go, oh, put my money on Amy. But as soon as I saw that challenge, I went, if Amy can get those balls on the thing, like she's got this, like she's going to beat Jay. And so that happened. So I feel like moving forward, like what challenges do we think we expect in Swamp of Sadness? And do you think Amy has a massive benefit if it's mostly puzzles?
I guess it all depends on who she comes up against. In like, yes, she will have an advantage. She will now have time, like hanging out the Swamp of Sadness. So, and like that kind of vengeful revenge arc that she's on right now may drive the determination as she goes through. So I expect to see great things, but who knows? Like, again, if you have like one slip up, if I think it's going to be a mixture of, again, seeing like a little bit of physical with a puzzle, which is like fast paced, quick. Things in the Swamp of Sadness will be kind of like get done, like quickly because of just how fast paced an LRG 2 days has to be. But I am excited, we will get to the end of this episode and, who is going there. But I am looking forward to episode 4 and what kind of challenges will be faced for those 2 people who are up. So.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think it's a lot like I feel like the Swamp of Sadness, often with battlebacks, I feel like sometimes it can kind of take away from the game. Sometimes in certain seasons, where I feel like this one, I really like it. I think it really works, and I think it also I think Jay was almost the perfect person to come first because when he brought up the Swamp of Rejuvenation, it kind of refocused. Because even when Dan brought it up again, it's like, wow, it's actually a thing now. Like this is going to be a thing that people can go there and they kind of naturally kind of think like, oh, I'm going to reflect on myself and come back better. And so I think that's very cool. Any other thoughts on the general Swamp of Sadness or the challenge or anything else?
I think we might even touch on it later, but I do find it interesting that it's coming up in later conversations when they're talking about a vote. Some people are thinking about, well, we actually need to think about who would be going to the Swamp of Sadness to compete in Duel. So we either want a strong player or like whatever it is, they're just taking that into consideration in terms of any future votes. So it's adding another dynamic to the regular Survivor game.
Yeah, well, even then, like often before merge, you go, okay, we're going to get rid of a physical threat because we're getting to a merge. Yeah. But you can't really do that now because it's Swamp of Sadness and there's a chance to straight back in, and all of a sudden, instead of you having a physical threat that's on your side, you have a physical threat that's not on your side. And next thing you know, you're in a bit of trouble there. So I think it's definitely interesting. I love it. I think it's going to be really cool moving forward in the season. I think there's a lot of cool stuff to come forward, and I'm really keen to see the battle. So I think there's a lot of good people. Yeah. That I'm kind of normally you kind of go, oh, these people will probably go and these people will probably be the merge. Like that's what I'm looking at. Whereas it feels very even in regards to distribution of time on screen, and I'm getting to really know everyone. And I'm like, wow, like the next battle, like obviously we'll talk about it later, but the next Swamp of Sadness battle, it's like, whoa, that's 2 heavyweights. Like that's a good battle. Some tea, Maddie and Amy have a pre-game connection. Wow, that makes it even more spicy.
Yeah, right. They're going to come together and see how that mix works. So that's fun.
But anyway, we move on. Post, obviously. Obviously, Jay went home. Commiserations to Jay. What do we think Jay will be remembered for in this very short time on Canberra Survivor?
His nicknaming of the Swamp of Sadness. I think that would be the number one. But I think, unfortunately, like there wasn't anything necessarily that I think that he did. It's just, again, like, he wasn't a part, like, he just wasn't part of certain conversations. And the fact that vote did come down to 2 redraws and then people just not going to rocks, I think is very iconic. And so, like, that is an awesome first tribal. And, to be a part of that and to just be, like, unfortunately, the hand that was dealt, I think that's what, he'll be remembered for. It's just a great first episode and the naming of the Swamp of Sadness. That's how I feel.
Yeah, that's nailed on the head, I think. I definitely think the vote thing is very fair. I think I can't think of many LRGs where the first vote was not unanimous. Almost all of them are unanimous, and if anything, it's maybe 2 votes the other way, like absolute max. Like, everyone's just so petrified of splitting up the group so quickly, but they definitely drew lines, and that's what we love. But yeah, moving on. Oh, if Jay's remember for the Shrek quotes, we're right. That is a good point, James. This is why we like you being a part of this.
Yeah,
I 100% agree. 100% agree. We also got Sam Green here. Shout out, Sam. Sorry for the bullying comments before. Sam is here. We love Sam. On you, Jay. We love you, Jay. If anyone wants to give their comments of what they think Jay will remember for, he'll read it. He'll love it. We were going to have Jay on this episode, by the way, just a heads up, guys. But unfortunately, he's overseas and his business not the greatest right now. But we will get him on at some point to do a quick little breakdown of his experience, and hopefully one of us 3 will be on there, and we'll get to chat about the rejuvenation and all that kind of stuff. But yeah. So after that happens, we get rid of all that stuff and we get back into the game. And the first thing we open up on is Ed. And he chats to Andrew to calm him down, which I think is so funny because I was just expecting the opposite. I was just screaming, Andrew blindsides Ed, and Andrew's just like, what's happening, bro? And Andrew does the whole, we're good. But it's actually the opposite. I thought, so the first thing I want to say is we haven't really seen a lot of Ed's strategy specifically. Like, it's like he's been out there and he's the leader and blah, but that's very classic, like it's not what it is, but it's kind of like the big dumb leader jock that we can just, he doesn't know anything about survival, we can just, that was kind of what I was getting the picture of. But then you saw his strategy simply with talking to people, and this really impressed me personally. I thought he handled the information he gave to Andrew very well. Like, he didn't, like, when they said, like, oh, who was the Amy vote, who did this, he was very good at, like, giving information but not making it look, oh, sorry guys, but not making it super clear and not giving away anything really. Like, at the end of the conversation I was like, what really did Andrew learn? And it was just like, oh, everyone wanted Amy out. That's all he kind of learned. I think that's very interesting. What was everyone else's thoughts on Ed and his handling of Andrew's freak out?
I actually wrote down he's playing a very lovable, affable character and he's leaning into it, and I think it's very disarming. So I think what you're finding is the other players aren't necessarily thinking he's being very strategic, but as you say, the information that he's providing, they're not getting anything from him really. And I actually think he's a dark horse. I think it was definitely a good episode for it. Yeah,
well, Deli, what was your thoughts on Ed's attempts to calm down Andrew post vote?
I was impressed that nobody necessarily was like called out, and there wasn't what I would say like blood on anyone's hands after the vote, and that in the end it was, a few people's like were called out for potentially saying Oscar's name, but then it was like Oscar was with us, so there was another name, but we're not exactly sure. Like, everyone's playing it very coy and very clever. And so, and again, straight after, that conversation that Ed and Andrew had, we cut to a classic Andrew line of Sean Crow, the first cut is the deepest. I also highly enjoyed the fact that Ed kind of breaks the fourth wall and like directly looks into the camera to apologize to Oscar at some point. And so I just think that was so funny. And again, like, someone just playing it up. Like, we've got some characters this season who really just want to lean into the fact that they are having fun, but they're also playing a game. And so, like, I really like that. Again, everyone's perceiving Ed as just being the jock, puppy dog, like, oh, we're swaying him. And so this is why we're going to put him as, like, the leader. But again, he is understanding what is going on. And even though he doesn't know Survivor that well, he is a big influence at the moment. So I'm curious to see with where we're going now, where he's going to take that and if he's going to be smart with it. So yeah, curious to see. And also would love to talk more about Andrew's game as we get further in this episode as well.
Yeah.
Because there is some big things going on with that too.
Understatement of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely, speaking of Andrew, obviously there was two sides to that conversation. I don't think the Ed conversation really has concerned me, but when you add in his conversation, not giving a lot of information to Andrew, and then you add in stuff like Pauline really being clear that like he's an issue. We gotta sort that out. I'm not sure if you guys have seen Andrew's season, but he played very similarly on Backyard, and they loved him. They ate it up, and like he was just the king of his tribe pretty much until he went out. And so, and I feel like this time it hasn't really like people like him, but it kind of hasn't. It's kind of been a negative trait that he's liked the way he is.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's. Do you think cast like every Survivor game is different, and you think like that's just part of it is that Andrew's learning that this cast is different to the previous cast he played with, and then he has to maybe adapt a little bit.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see that coming through. And I was very like, as we talk about later on with the things that have happened in this episode, people are picking up on that. And I think if he doesn't kind of change tack a little bit, he could be in trouble. So yeah, people, and especially, I mean, he got very lucky with the fact that he did decide to change his vote and, vote Amy off, because I think if he had stuck to, and again, that's someone who can be flexible, who can kind of read the room. But I would have been curious how things would have changed if he had originally gone with the vote that he was going to go for.
Yeah, because there's a few people that have now flagged, I think, in this sort of section of the episode. I think Ed even says to him, "Oh, you're a bit of a leader, Andrew." And he's like, no, and just tried to brush it off and move it on. But I think that's a slight risk. And then also Loz says towards the end of that segment, she says, "Oh, Andrew, he's expendable. He's got to go." So there's at least 3 targets in sort of the Ginendera tribe that has him in their sights.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks for the Andrew fans of the world. It's not the most pleasant place for him to be. We have a little comment here from Derek. I see a beef arising between Loz, Ed, Todd, and Eden, Bethany and Anthea, and I, for one, cannot wait. I love that'd be a fun little Avengers Assemble battle, war of the 3 groups. I love that idea. I think it's a good. Those 3 are definitely the strongest kind of formed groups. I'd probably say. I'd probably back the latter to take down the first, in my opinion. But hey, and we also got Jacinta here with Andrew equals icon. 1,000% agree. In my opinion,
you're an icon,
the most interesting ALRG player in history. Any LRG, Andrew is the most interesting player. I'll die on that hill. But yes, something else. I feel like we're talking so much about Andrew, but he was the king of this first little bit. And something that I do want to talk about is the Globe Idol strikes again. and I've purposely put idol in brackets because we don't know yet.
We don't know.
I'm actually going to shout out. I'm going to put up his comment. Ignore what he's saying, but shout out Derek because he gave me this really good insight that I was like, this is a really good idea. He brought up to me that we don't know if this is an idol, and not only do we not know if it's an idol, we don't know what it does, what rules it is, or any of that stuff. And he hit it. I can't remember. Does he go back to the camp that he came from?
That's what I was just trying to think.
Or is he on the other camp? Because the thought process there is what if
he goes to the other tribe? Yeah.
Because what if both idols actually it's a half idol and they got to work together or something, and he's gone, or it's you got to play them together, or it's you got to team up, or you got to pass it to each other or something. I feel like hiding it is very dangerous game to play, let alone losing it. Like I feel like I would never find that ever again.
Now that's so funny. I didn't even think about that. He's hidden it. He tried to put some sticks and different things to be like X marks the spot for me, but how is he supposed to go back and retrieve that unless he's going to the bathroom for a really long time? So
yeah, I love how you put the sticks there to know where it was next to all the sticks.
Yeah,
it's like, wow, is it really going to spot it out? But what's everyone's thoughts on Andrew? If we had to say if it's an idol or not, what do we think? Where are we thinking, Ritty?
No, surely not. Although the fact that it's happened twice.
Yeah, like
We've got
I feel
some very
like
savvy. Like, what are the odds? What in the world?
That's my thought. It's like
Maybe
he's a
do
smart
something.
dude.
Yeah. And again,
And
I think you're gonna try anything. Like we have seen in like American Survivor when they've tried to grab the little thing off the stand, where the actual like voting thing is. Like people have tried to grab those things to, give it a go. And so I think it's the same thing as pouring out the coffee. It's like you're gonna look for any kind of clue, any kind of thing. And I think anything, or anything that you can play off as potentially that you have an idol, if you can do it well, then that's going to get you further in the game. Like the fact that, Eden and Bethany grabbed the one on the Kurrawong tribe and may use that as a talking piece now for where they're at. I think that's going to be really strong. But who knows if Andrew might have picked it up and grabbed it and put it back in his pocket, but we'll have to wait and see if he talks about it in the next upcoming episode to go, oh, damn, I left that there. So
maybe it's you could use it as a negotiation piece later on if you're stuck in
it's a terrible idea.
It's actually an idol. I've got a clue.
Yeah.
No one knows about it.
I definitely agree. I definitely like his thought process of CCC. People thinking it's like it's water or it's a lake or something, but like they're not anywhere near a sea. Why would you put sea in the word? I think that makes. I think that makes sense. I'd almost be a little bit disappointed if it's not an idol because it's almost like, why'd you put it there if it's not an idol? Like it's literally shaped like an idol. But I don't know. Maybe that's just the hopeless romantic of me that saw Andrew grab it and went, yes, now I want to believe. Now I want to believe. I want to believe so bad. Yes, that's 100% an idol now. Before I wasn't sure, but now it's 100% an idol. But yeah. I love this, Chase. Hey, just take this as a cardboard. It's an idol, I swear. But yes, Jane. See, this is why we got alumni here giving great advice. The biggest villain of Canberra Survivor, James, who Andrew just chucked it in some random stock in the bush. I love that idea. Nothing. It's definitely easier to hide than Mel's gigantic idol in the previous season. So there's positives all around. But anyway, we move on to the World Tribe. I think obviously not too much there because they didn't go to a vote. But I think something that was interesting to me that I wanted to discuss is Eden saying that he's the swing vote and that he's in a perfect spot. Do we think that's true? Do we think would you say he's in the swing spot position, or is that maybe just him not particularly knowing exactly where he's at?
I think.
You go, Jelly.
I was just gonna say he jokes around that he hates men, and so it's like the other side is John and Aiden and Squin, and then he's got his three ladies on the other side. So I was surprised by that, comment that he made. But again, if you feel like you're in that position and that gives you confidence, and you're feeling like you're having good, genuine conversations with everybody. Then at the same time, I would be a little bit concerned for like Bethany, Anthea, and Maddie to like truly trust Eden in that way. So yeah, it would be curious to see how that continues from here, with the tribe swap and all of that. So
I thought he made some good arguments because of the revote. He actually voted with both sets of three. So there is an argument there to say, well, I have voted with both sides, so maybe he is a swing vote. But I'll also point out that after he spoke with Squin does go, she does say, she's gotten on to the fact that he's not talking about an alliance, or I think there is an alliance, but he's not actually letting us get wind of it. So
yes,
I think
saying a lot of nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that was my comments. I was like, Squin is smart. Squin understands what is kind of going on, and that there are some underlying alliances going on. And I think, Aiden and John are kind of picking up on those bits as well, and things that they're not potentially privy to. So the Coorong tribe is definitely not a united front at this time. So
yeah, I'll just also Derek here was saying no women, no men. I'd actually challenge this notion, right? I know he says it, and I know he definitely like means it in an ideal world he would want to get the men out. I think he definitely believes that, but I think Eden is not a dum-dum. He is a smart guy that wants to win the game. And I think he would and I think it's proof of that is that he straight away, and you can tell by the rumblings of the confessionals that he says, is that he's noticed that Bethany is a player that he does not want to be with further down the game. And I think he's realized that the only way I can get her out is by pairing with John and that group. And so I don't think anyone saying, oh, he's not in this middle because he would never vote with them is just clearly basing off the one thing he said, which I don't think is true. Obviously, it's a funny joke. It's something that's definitely his personality. And I definitely believe if it was a girls' alliance versus a guys' alliance and he liked the girls and think he could beat the girls, he'd 100% go with the girls. Fuck the guys. But I definitely think he's open to working with John. Maybe not so much Aiden, but I definitely think John, and maybe it's also helpful that they have Squin with them. That kind of makes it not like it's just a massive bro alliance. But yeah, that's I don't know if I fully agree with the whole no men thing, but I don't know. We'll see because he's been pretty clear on it throughout. I don't know. But yeah, I think something else that was interesting is obviously we'll talk about this later. It kind of transitions into the rest of the episode, but Aiden straight away starts talking about flipping on his tribe and saying like as soon as I swap, I'm out. Like, which I think is good. I think guys like Aiden can definitely, like the quieter, more reserved people can kind of once they get revealed to be at the bottom, they can kind of go into their shell and just be like, okay, I'm just gonna try and be invisible and and that's when you just get voted out because you just become the next person. So you got to fight, and I definitely think he's trying to do that. What's everyone's thoughts on him? Like, do you think that's too premature for him to flip, or do you think it's a good thought to have going into the stuff that moves on in the episode?
Well, I think we'll probably talk about it later, but he leans into it. And so he does talk about being on the outer. It's not unfamiliar to him. And I think it actually works in his favor later in the episode when he realizes, well, he got all the votes. He's sort of the last one from the old Kurrajong who had the majority of the votes that got him out. So it kind of works in his favor. Or he uses it to his advantage, I should say.
Yeah. He definitely becomes a lot more vocal, like as we'll see like throughout this episode. And yeah, I feel like he isn't laying down saying like I'm defeated. He's like, I want to use this energy to like that same thing of like he's in like a revenge arc kind of as well, that it's like, okay, I want to get back at these guys and I can use this as ammunition to say like, hey, I'm really like not in anything, you can use me. And like if that gets him further in the game, awesome. So
yeah, well, it definitely gives him permission to lie to every person on that tribe. Like you know what I mean? Like once you've been voted out or almost voted out, it pretty much like, well, they lied to my face. So like you don't feel bad anymore throwing that person under the bus. But yeah, I think there's definitely some interesting stuff. Obviously, there wasn't a lot of talk about tribe source. There was kind of subtle mentions about it, but I don't think anyone was particularly preparing for what they did. Something that was interesting, firstly, is the quick little twist, which I thought was interesting. We'll chat about when we get to it. But obviously, first up, patriotic picks. I thought that was interesting. Firstly, just in general, what was everyone's thoughts on the concepts of getting the tribes to pick their most patriotic member?
Oh, I think it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Like
it was like the best clever like twist in terms of using, especially with the theme of Canberra versus the world to like it's the perfect way to lean people in to whatever's going to happen with really nobody saying too much about could this be a tribe swap. And so like all three of us had to go back and kind of look way more closely at the episode to see who had said anything. And like Oscar talks about it, but it's really kind of brushed off. I don't think there was anything in the edit of like people on the Coorong tribe. talking about it. And so, and I mean, watching that segment of this episode and seeing just how many people were shocked by what happened, and seeing Maddie just kind of like fall into herself and go, oh my gosh, this is what's happened, was highly entertaining to watch. So,
and I think it was only other mentioned other than Oscar, and it wasn't mentioned in terms of the patriotic pick, but Eden talks about the advantage that Anthea gets from the What in the World challenge that she had, and he mentions, it would be really helpful if there was a tribe swap and you end up on the minority, that you could use it to steal a vote to get the majority back. So I was interesting that was in the episode, but not linked to the actual patriotic pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I that's what I think is so interesting about the tribe swap. I feel like it was very quick. I'm trying to think of previous tribe swaps on Canberra or other LRGs. I don't think it happens this quick. But I love it. I love putting them on their toes early, and I love mixing them up early. Like, it definitely can lead to some people's games getting a little bit screwed, but I think it opens up the game, and the more mixing before merge, the better, because it leads to merge being better. And I see pre-merge as being just trying to make merge as good as possible. Back onto the patriotic picks. Straight away, it's funny that because even you mentioned that Ed's called Andrew a leader and he shut it down. Whereas when Ed's ever called a leader, he gets a big smile and he's like, "Oh, I'll do it," and blah blah. Like, I know obviously we discussed Ed and we think he's smart and he's playing a long game and all that stuff. Do you think he is aware of people pushing him in the leader role, and do you think he has self-awareness of that, or do you think he is a little bit blinded by, like, Pauline is doing very well at subtly making him be the guy that's like this huge shield that covers her tiny little body.
Yeah.
just does everything, and she just goes, she's the back like, I'm just wearing a little hat and chillax and vote everyone out. But yeah, what's everyone's thoughts on that?
I feel like Ed just genuinely probably in life is kind of pushed into that space, and especially because he is a teacher, he is quite of a big presence, big personality as well, that I think that's just the role that he's really comfortable with. And so I think it's a mixture of like him just getting hyped on it, but also like I don't think he really kind of sees how people are pushing him there, but we can understand from the confessionals and the other things he's been saying that he's leaning, but he also knows where he wants to go. So, but again, I don't think he really had any idea what he was stepping into and why. And I think that's the same way of Maddie as well. And I don't think I like really agree with Maddie taking that spot. I think that probably I would have gone with John, especially for like she didn't go into like when they got to that immunity challenge, she didn't go in with confidence. No. So it was kind of like I'm going to step back. And then when she was asked the question, I felt like a bit rushed. And in the end, you could see that once she worked out that it was a tribe swap, just where finally everything was kind of catching up and going, oh, damn, I put myself in a potentially a bad position with this decision and where I put myself. But again, she really wanted to try to step up and be like, hey, I want to do something great for the tribe and, try to get more people like on side. So yeah, it was a very interesting section of the episode to watch for her.
Yeah, I definitely think I always say to people, you can never get mad if something doesn't go wrong if you step up. It's worse if you don't step up and then you go home. You feel way worse about that. So obviously I know that long term when we get to the end of the episode, this decision to step up doesn't really work out for Maddie. But in saying that, it's also like she could say that all she wants, but maybe she doesn't step up and then she pulls the same buff out of the cup and it goes anyway. I think Maddie choosing Anthony as least patriotic was low-key a good idea. Yes, it's actually funny. That's what we're about to discuss is the patriotic pick. I 100% agree. I thought that was a good way. I feel like whenever you're doing a pick of who's the worst in your tribe of something, you always pick the person that is not someone that's going to take massive offense. I think Anthea is someone that's the perfect person that will literally is fully aware of that she's in a shitty position and she's not going to take it personally, and that also because they're close, so she's not going to you know what I mean. Straight away, you're picking your duo. You're not picking soone that you're on the other side of, because that'll just confirm it thing more. What was everyone's thoughts on the two picks? It was who did Ed end up picking?
Oscar.
Oscar.
Yes. Yeah. It's so funny because in terms of Maddie's pick of Anthea, I think on a completely different page about that, because I wouldn't be choosing an alliance member, like in the end, because I would be afraid that this could end up with, Derek, she automatically broke apart her alliance that way. I think that was the wrong move personally. That's how I feel in terms of, it's like, hey, they're an alliance. They didn't know what was going to happen, where that was going to go. And again, kind of choosing someone who you're supposed to be in alliance with, and then suddenly, you end up potentially losing them, which is, exactly what happened. For me, I just think that wasn't like, I don't think it would have been a surprise if she had chosen like Aiden, for example, especially because of the votes and what had happened. Like that would have potentially been a safe vote for her. But again, he is picking up momentum at the moment and is he is bringing more of a voice. So,
and I think she did justify the choice for Anthea because she thought it might be a doing episode and a doing challenge, and she might be better at it. That's how she was coming at that decision from, which is justifiable. Probably just didn't work out in her favor.
Yeah, and that's what sucks about these things, because everyone kind of adds their opinion with hindsight.
Yeah.
Like go, oh well, this is what happened, so therefore that didn't work out, or it did work out. It was like she didn't know what she was picking. She was just picking some random person. So I think this chat is split. It's kind of like, yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed.
I think that's what we love. I want people to disagree. If you disagree with us, tell us we're wrong. I want to hear this stuff. We've got Mar Mountain coming up later, which you can 100% will disagree with. I think that's be very controversial. But yes, something else before we're going to do a little fun thing in a sec. So I want everyone, before we get into the next question, one thing coming up. I want everyone in the comments to, not right now when we get to it, but just in your mind, start thinking about power rankings for these two tribes. In a second, we're going to do a segment, which is cool, a new segment. But first question before we move on is, I feel like tribe swaps everyone really hates them, and not hates them, but players can hate them, and it can lead to issues because you can get in trouble, or it can lead to one person being with the rest of the tribe, and you're like, my God, that person's screwed. I feel like this is literally the best scenario. It's 4-3 split with both majorities not being the majorities in their previous tribe.
Yeah.
Like they're all mixes, which I think is great. It leads both tribes, almost always, there's always one tribe that has 4 that's already knew each other, already have worked together, and just vote out the rest. There's not really any group that does that. I love the tribe swap dynamics personally and what it led to. What were your guys' thoughts on the overall result?
I thought the result with this one gave a lot of opportunities or new avenues and pathways for people that were potentially on the bottom, which I think is a really good outcome. I think it just increases the dynamics in the game. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think some examples, I think from the old Carolong, John going over with Bethany, Eden, and Anthea to the Ginninderra, he was probably on the outer with Squin and Aiden in the old tribe, and now there's a potential that he could work with the old Ginninderra, who would be in the minority, which is Ed, Todd, and Loz.
Yeah, that was the same. That was what I wrote as well. I said that John could either be unlucky or he could also be the swing vote in there. So that will be I'll be really curious with that. And then in terms of like the Kurong tribe, I had put down that Maddie was unfortunately like unlucky in just like how that kind of played out because her main alliances were not with her. But then super curious in terms of, you know, and we get to see it play out when they are, before they get to Tribal Council, that, you know, there are people who are starting to be onto Andrew and not feeling that, you know, he's a bit of a wild card. So I am really interested to see how this tribe will continue to play out. And also, you know, a tribe swap happening kind of this early. I'm curious to see how tribal lines will remain and how, again, in that terms of like patriotic people will be to their side. And I will be very curious to see also how the theme of the season will continue to play out from here too, being that we have had a tribe swap quite early.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think it's funny you say that. Yeah, I'm definitely keen to discuss the whole idea of patrioticness and stuff later in the episode with a few things that happen. But yeah, let's get into the new segment. This isn't technically an ongoing segment like Mom Mountain, which is an amazing segment. You just check it out. By the way. But
revolutionary, you know. So
this cool little this is a segment that was it was a little suggestion from yet again Derek, the amazing person, and I just kind of was like, he's like, you should do a power rankings, and I was like, we're not going to just do a power rankings, we're going to do a tier list. Hell yeah, guys! So we got tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So the way it's going to work is it's all kind of it's wishy-washy. We're not going to be strict with this. Tier 1 is basically going to be the people that we think are safe. They're not going anywhere. They're probably going to be all right. They're in a good position. They're in a position to make moves. Tier 2 is kind of like people that are kind of like, depending on how they move, it could go either way. It could be good, could be bad. But they have flexibility. And then red is people that are like danger zone. They're leaving that. Matt being like, shit, I'm in a bad spot here. I'm just going to hop this up real quick. Feeling powerful from Derek. He's had one podcast and now he's the king of this whole thing. But yeah, so we're just going to go through this one by one. We'll start off with Andrew's tribe, which I think is not Ginninderra. Currawong. So we'll start with Currawong. So let's start with Andrew. Where's Andrew at in this period? Well, where's he at with them?
I'm feeling either tier 2 or tier 3 is where I sit with Andrew.
Agreed, because he's in the 4 of the old Ginninderra, but he's probably, I mean, they keep saying he's a wild card. He might go a bit rogue.
Yeah.
But that also means he could work with the other side. But I reckon, 2 or 3.
I would say, yeah, I agree. It's definitely not tier 1. It's definitely not tier 1. But I would say tier 2 because he has the idol, which is at least even if it's an idol, it's something that's workable. It's 2, he's with people that know about, like, you know, I think there's potential. Like, I also think people like his biggest haters, like Pauline, maybe understand that right now isn't the best time to get out an Andrew. Like, maybe just stick with the numbers and stick still. Because she even said, like, look, he's a bit of a hot wire, but we're in the majority.
We need to hold
him. So I definitely would do we grade tier 2?
Tier 2. Let's go.
Done.
Yeah.
We got tier 2 from Derek, and I trust Derek, so boom. Andrew's there. Next up, let's go with Aiden. Let's do Aiden. Where's Aiden at?
Ooh. What? Ooh.
I feel tier 2.
I mean, he came in as part of the 3, and he was probably at the bottom of the last vote. And he came in with Maddie and Squin. So
I'm gonna push for tier 1. I'm gonna throw. It's a bit. For me, it's a few things, right? For me, it's a few things. One, he's the votes being split shows the other tribe that he's clearly on the outs, whether he is or not.
Yes.
Which means that they're gonna see him as a flipper, which is proof by the later in the episode. With what Oscar does. I think 2. I feel like he's openly been saying that he wants to flip and he wants to screw the other group. So I think there's potential for that. And obviously we see that later in the episode. And I also think he's not someone that if I was an Andrew or a Oscar or whatever, a big player, I would want Aiden to come to merge. Yeah. I would see Aiden as a useful asset rather than, I got to get rid of this guy. He's going to dominate when we get to merge. He seems like someone that I can see Andrew seeing as a useful tool to go further. So I'd be very surprised if Aiden went. At least at this point, maybe if they lose like the next 4 challenges, like of course he'll be in a bad spot. But I'd say most people on the minority would be in trouble in that scenario. But yeah, that's my pitch. Anything else from you, Deli, before we chuck it to the beautiful fans?
I just still think that even if they go to tribal council again, he's still going to be on the bottom of the 5. Again, they might end up like voting off Squin first, but he's not in a safe zone. I don't think he can make any like big moves. At the moment, he's not swaying that vote. I think definitely it's more like Pauline and Sab and even Oscar, at the moment in that space. So I'd still be going with like a tier 2. Like he's not on top, not in the.
I agree.
So.
But I appreciate your pitch, Marcus. That was a good pitch.
And I'm also going to throw. I'm agreeing with you guys, but I'm going to throw out one more. But not going to change anything. But I'll just say, just so in case this is proven right, I believe that Andrew and Oscar, if they do keep losing, will pair with Aiden, and that'll be the 3, and they will flip on because they wanted to get at Sab, and I think if you go, who's a bigger threat for Andrew, Sab or Aiden? I think 100%.
Yeah, right.
So that's a little thing I'll throw out. But anyway, we move on. Where we at with? Let's just do Maddie. Where's Maddie at? Obviously, we can make this a little quick.
Tier 3.
But yeah,
tier 3. I'm sorry, Maddie.
Yeah.
Like just that face when she found out she was swapping to the other tribe.
Yeah.
She stabbed me in the heart. I was just like, oh, Maddie. I love that she's so hard on her sleeve. Whenever she's even in the background of conversations, you can just see on her face how she feels. And I'm just like, it's so good to watch you, but like it's so devastating to see it doesn't get away. But yeah, definitely tier 3 from Maddie. I think we can all just naturally agree. Well, Aston, we've done tier 3, so maybe cool your horses. Let's do what about Squin? Where's Squin at going into this tribe swap?
Again, so she comes in with a 3.
Yeah.
In terms of with Maddie and Aiden coming into the old Carolong.
I mean, throughout the entire, we're going to get to the point of before tribal council, but her name was the one that was being, thrown around, and was certainly what the edit made you potentially want to think was the vote coming. So yeah, she definitely wasn't safe in this tier 2.5. If only we could have a tier, is that an option?
Me personally, I kind of put her above Maddie, but just I do agree with Chase. Kind of here, she's not here, but she's it's also not here, but she's kind of here. She's kind of here. That works. Top of tier 3, says Derek, which she's in her underdog era. I 100% agree.
That's it.
I'll say this now: if Squin does win this game, it'll be I think we have a really good story.
Underdog story.
I could definitely say that. Let's try and power through these because we got a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, that's it.
But let's go. So Sab, where are we thinking? I think tier 2 for Sab.
Tier 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But low tier 2, they're certainly considering that she. I didn't see she got injured. I didn't see that part. So I don't know what happened with her to end up wearing the knee brace. And now that's being talked about as something of why they're kind of gunning for her. So that was really interesting to find that in this episode. And if anybody has any tea that they'd like to share in the comments.
Yeah, I'd love to know.
Much appreciated.
I'm also just going to do this. I'm not even going to discuss it.
Do it,
I think Pauline's in 1, she's fine. I don't even think she's been. I don't think anyone's even said a word at her name on the TV screen yet. It's how late is avoiding this woman? Brilliant game as always. How does she do it? She impresses me every day. And then we got Oscar. I would probably put him also up here.
Yeah, I feel that
Yeah.
He's low tier 1. He could be sitting in tier 2 as well, but nobody's
Yeah,
saying his
he's
name
here.
now that he's been on the move. So, and he's kind of been in the conversations and is interested to, his voice definitely came out in this episode. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I also got here James Wolf. Whenever Pauline is T1 for a hat game alone, facts. 100%
Well, you have
facts.
to say that
Oh,
about
it's the
Oscar
two-
as well.
What
They're
a
hat buddies,
coincidence.
so-
What a
T1.
coincidence. The
Yeah.
best hat people are on there. And then we're going to these people. These lovely people. Let's kind of go through. Do we have any? So who would be the tier 3? Like who are the people in trouble? Do we think?
Loz.
Yeah, I also put Loz in there.
And then
Maybe
again, I felt it for John, but he could also be the swing vote. So
Yeah.
But in terms of that, like that isn't his tribe alliance, but he is they are in a majority against the 3. So usually the majority would come together. But yeah, I feel like it's probably only Loz in this grouping.
Yeah, because that's interesting. Because that's obviously we're basing it off the tribe swap. I know we obviously got context of what happened. Because I would say Ed is almost when you straight away naturally assume Eden doesn't want to play with guys, so you'd be like, oh, he's in the majority. He'd probably go for a big guy like Ed. He's the leader of the group. He's the one that said the most patriotic. But then you also heard later on that John's kind of likes him. So I think it's a very interesting dynamic. I would definitely put John like here kind of period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like he has the potential to make a move, but he has to make the move to be in a good spot. If he doesn't, then he's in a bad spot.
Yeah.
And see, that's I think I would say this is probably the one that I'd be most confident there will be a flip. I don't know who it will be, but I think someone will flip.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I'd almost put Anthony in a bit of trouble. Maybe not exactly, maybe kind of like bottom of tier 2, but I could definitely see if one of them wanted to flip, I could see her being in a bit of a tricky spot.
I think we just need to remember Anthea's got the advantage too.
Yeah.
So if she uses that right.
That's just funny you say that, because I actually thought that's almost more of a reason why I'm worried about it, because
true,
she's in a majority, so she might not even even think about it, because she's like, I'm fine, and then she gets blindsided with it, which would suck if that's the case. But I don't know. It's a very interesting group. This tribe in particular, because there's so many ways it could go.
Hey, thanks, Dad.
A torn meniscus.
I injured my knee 4 weeks before filming.
Wow.
You're a trooper. My lord. Tier 1, that's mother. Sorry, I'm just getting this. And you said, wait, I thought she's in the group with the numbers. She is in the group with the numbers, but the thing is, you got people like John who could flip. You even got someone like Eden, who I could see flipping if it means getting rid of Bethany, and maybe that may lead to Anthony going as well. I think in regards to people that aren't touchable, I think Ed's either 1 or 3. Like, it's either he's fine, but he's going to be a challenge piece and they're going to keep him around, or he's in trouble because of that exact reason. Can we get a poll up? What's everyone's thoughts?
Because I feel like in terms of people who haven't been spoken about, it's like Todd would be probably in like quite a safe position at the moment. Like, he hasn't really been spoken about like at all, and he would be teaming up with Ed in this situation, and I think they could get potentially people, especially like John, on side. I think also like Bethany hasn't been talked about too much, so I'm very curious. This whole group, I'd probably be, in the interest of time, just throwing everybody in two. And,
I'd probably put Ed up near the top, but I'd put Bethany lower with. I think that's kind of the vibe. I could definitely say it would suck. I could definitely see Anthony, like those 3 on the bottom of tier 2. If John flips on them, they're in a lot of trouble. All of a sudden, they're here. All of a sudden, they're boom, straight down there. But that's our list. We'll put this in the comments at some point after the show to get feedback. Tell us how stupid we are. we got.
But again, The
We
list
got
isn't
Todd
overall.
for tier 1.
Yeah.
We have some
The
protests.
list isn't like, you know, it's based on the two different tribes separately, not as a combined. So
yeah,
we might just have to let everybody know that, because then they'll go, what's like da da da. But yeah, we're taking a lot of things into consideration.
Sorry, I just
Hey, yeah, that was funny. The Illuminati one. Even this one here. Ed is tier 1 at the moment, but coming close to the end, he will be tier 3.
Yeah.
Oh my. But yes, that's our list. I like it. That's probably what I would have done. How are we feeling? We feel good about this? We feel back in it? We'll put it out online and get hate comments about it?
That's
Hell
it.
yeah.
Let's go.
That's all right. Bring on the hate. We got this.
Yeah.
I just need you guys to defend me. My mountain, I'm by myself, so I need you guys to defend me on this one. But awesome. That was a cool little segment. We love segments. But yeah, we're pumping through. Let's keep the challenge kind of a little bit smaller, because it was a simple kind of straightforward challenge. Yeah. Classic eating challenge. I like how they mixed it up a bit with the secret pick and it being in a tortilla and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of cool. I felt like the first question is simply, what was the grossest combination, do you think?
Oh, 100% anything with preserved duck egg, surely.
Yeah.
And I'm an Asian guy who knows what it is, and I still haven't eaten it. So I...
Shout out to Maddie and John having to try and get that done, because that is a challenge. So
yeah. Well, from experience, I once dated, from an Asian family, and they convinced me to eat it one time, like treating it like it was like, oh, they have it all the time and they love it and it's so good. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't want to be rude. And I had it and they laughed at me and was like, that's disgusting. Don't eat that. And I was like, thank God. And so, yeah, I agree. When I saw that Maddie got the egg, I kind of went, yikes. But yeah, I definitely agree. That's a simple answer there. In regards to, like, I loved everyone's commitment. I feel like with eating challenges, like there's definitely commitment, but there's definitely a lot more like, oh, I don't want to eat something, or there's someone always that pulls out. I felt everyone really committed to the eating, and it was obviously not the most visually, like, it wasn't active, it was just them standing and eating, but I didn't feel like it was tight, at least most of the rounds. What was everyone's thoughts on the challenge as a whole, I guess?
Yeah, I don't think anyone really failed. They gave it a red hot go. There was definitely some chewing. I think there was a little bit of possible spewing or vomiting, possibly particularly with the preserved duck egg. But I thought it was really close, and it was close in the end. I think it was 4-2 to the new Ginninderra tribe. So it came down to the wire pretty much. Yeah,
Deli, any thoughts on the immunity challenge?
I thought people were going to be like more grossed out, but people were really committed, and like they wrote, apart from the preserved duck egg, like the oysters, people just pretended that was a regular taco. So
that wasn't questioned. Blew my mind.
Not really. Yeah, like oysters and chocolate, like perfect afternoon snack. Excellent. And then I loved when they went back to their tribes and they were given some, like leftover tortillas, and they were just like, oh, we're just going to have this. Like, and again, you're not eating while you're there. So you're like, I'm just going to eat anything that's given to me. So
yeah, obviously the Ginninderra tribe wins, as we said before, which was great for them. I think they deserved it. I think they were definitely the most hungry. Let's go to pre-tribal/tribal. The first thing I want to talk about is just firstly everything that Oscar gave us in that first rapid 3-minute period, where she was giving us. So a few things I wrote down is he was asked to throw the challenge, he didn't throw it, but it looks like he did, and he planned to use that to his advantage, which is genius. And I think it's definitely going to be a funny thing. I really hope that he didn't tell anyone after the game finished and just waited to reveal that at the filming, because that would be really funny. He says that he's vibing with the other three and likes them, and he says if Andrew flips, he would too. And then Oscar, for me in general, I feel like, literally, I think he said it earlier in the episode, he's really coming out of his shell. And I think we're in for a really fun ride whenever Oscar is in a power position. Like, what do you guys think about that? Yeah, we agree?
I think so. And it was interesting that his chats with Aiden were quite enlightening too. Like, I think he worked Aiden quite well. I think they worked well together, but I thought Oscar was very particular, and he had something in mind to try and get Aiden on board, and that was very strategic.
For me, I'm just very curious, like with this edit, it was in the end, the votes looked like that they were going for Squin, and like Oscar was talking to Aiden about, like voting for Squin. And when we get to the end credits, he speaks about the fact that he voted for Maddie because he's close as Squin. And so it's kind of like, how in the end, where were the conversations to go with the Maddie vote? And it's like, I'm going to be interested to see when we get into the next episode on, it's like, was he actually in line with the votes, or was he just in line with his alliance? And, that somehow actually worked in his favor, and he can just play off that he was part of the vote. So, like, I'm very curious to see how that will play on from here.
And obviously, like, there's a lot happens in these things. So, and we can't talk about everything, but definitely the thing I don't want to talk about is the hashtag flippers, as I call them myself. We got Andrew and Aiden. I feel like both had reasons to flip, and both had the opportunity to flip. Who do you think? Like, obviously, we know that it was Aiden in the end that flips, but like, who do you think before, like, without the hindsight of that, who do you think had the bigger benefit of flipping?
Between who again? Sorry?
Between Aiden
and Andrew.
What are the comments saying?
I think right now, like Aiden, like Andrew, he didn't have enough force. And I still think, like, again, as his fantastic quotes, allude to, it would be very silly to, flip at this point in time, because he would blow up the dynamite factory. So, I think he realized that they were happy to stay, and so he's going to stay right now and not shake up the game to that extent, because then it would just prove to, like, Pauline and Sab and the others that he is the wild card. So it was good that he stuck with that group for this vote.
Yeah, and Andrew had a lot more to lose, and I think Aiden says that to Squin and Maddie, to say, look, if we're going to try and get someone to flip, we need to actually give them a credible option, because they're going to have to flip on one of their own. So I think in this case, Aiden probably did have more to gain from flipping, and obviously go with the majority. Yeah,
plus I think also Andrew doesn't know that if Andrew flips, Aiden's still not going to automatically change his idea of wanting to get rid of everyone on his tribe. So it could have actually been really bad for him, and it could have Aiden could have flipped back with the girls, or next thing you know, Andrew's on the other side, same position. And then going into tribal, I thought it was a really good tribal. I thought it was some really good questions from the host, which we had a lot of good answers. Obviously, kind of a combination of tribal and praise. Is Andrew mentioned not discussing your ex around your partner. So this is a common discussion in Survivor with, like, alliances and tribe lines and all that kind of stuff. Just kind of put in different perspective by Andrew, his classic kind of commentary. But I think that was really interesting, because you had that type of Andrew, and then, like, an episode ago, you had Andrew being like, "We are Canberra, and we all can't be this close." And if we all have to, that's like they're just behind the wall, at a war, and they're like pumping up the soldiers, like, let's go and kill these bitches. And then now he does everything's like, you know what? Let's not worry about all that stuff. We just got to work together now. And it's like, it's very interesting how he switched up so quickly. I love it. I love adaptability. But what do you think the reason was? Like, what do you think happened there?
I think they were just not wanting to show their hand too much, really. Yeah. Just to go, oh, look, we're all a happy family here. No one's going to do anything crazy. Yeah. It's just not just.
I laughed at that in terms of Sab when she's saying her bit. The way that she says it makes it sound like that she goes, oh, we're going to vote as a 4. But then she pauses and then goes, but her, and then it kind of goes, oh, but I don't know what other people are going to do. And so at first I was like, oh, are we showing the cards?
Yes.
And then it goes, no, we're not showing the cards. We're happy families. You know, we're just going to see what happens and see where it lies. So that was really interesting to me in that part.
But yeah, so another thing I thought was cool is Aiden in general this episode. Obviously, I think it was definitely a lot more visible in the pre-tribal and the tribal, but I felt that he really came out of his shell, similar to Oscar, and I felt like that's obviously just a classic. It happens in a lot of Survivors where someone thinks they're really fun, they're here to have fun, blah blah, and they see their name on a parchment, and they see their heart racing, and they see themselves like, holy crap, I almost went, and it almost just, it's like shocks your heart. It's like a little defibrillator to the heart to kickstart you to say, hey, you gotta go, like, are you gonna be left behind here?
Yeah.
It's crazy how that stuff works, doesn't it? Really, how like you can be gone, one vote away, one read away from being gone, and next thing you know, you got to kickstart again. I think that's what really led to Aiden being so vocal this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And he even talks about, well, you know, I'm going to play to survive now. And he talks about flipping his vote. He has really good conversations with Oscar. And as Deli pointed out before, it's interesting. I'd be interested to know if he was looped in on the Maddie vote or if he did just vote out of an alliance with Squin. Because if he was looped in, I'd be interested to know who did loop in him. But I think it was the right outcome for him because he's now on.
And then with those questions that Dan and Liv gave, in terms of, it was the fact that Dan gave the question to Squin of like, why should they keep you? And, you know, she was able to reveal that she was a pro basketballer. You know, they'd already spoken about, you know, Andrew was trying to push for Squin with the podcaster stuff and being like, she'll be able to speak really well and all this stuff. And so I think because she may see herself as being on the bottom with this vote, and especially because, you know, Aiden flipped and voted for Maddie and Squin still voted for Sab, that I think she might be able to drive the factor of, you know, I was loyal to my original alliance. I'm now here, you know, I'm free in this position. So it will be very cool to see how she grasped onto that. And I think it was kind of perfect in the end that Dan did ask her that question, because I think it will drive the same thing as giving Aiden a voice. I think it will also give Squin a voice in this kind of underdog story.
Yeah, it's actually funny that you said that, because that's the question that I really liked. I think it was a good answer. So going through it all, Maddie goes home in a clear vote. That I think, in hindsight, we all kind of like it was. I think like there was a lot of options and a lot of things going on, but I did kind of feel that was the sense, especially at tribal in particular. I feel like I just got a vibe from Maddie and from the others that are just, you know what I mean? You're like, you can do all the chat, you can kind of edit it all you want, but sometimes you can just see on someone's face if they know they're going. Yes, most of the time you get a gut feeling, and I could definitely tell that Maddie could feel she was on the wall, which sucks, because I definitely felt when that final vote happened, it's almost like she was clinging on to a ridiculous hope that she wasn't going to be voted this time, even though the votes were just Maddie. She was like, maybe it won't be me, and when it finally hit, it really like that false thing crashed, which I thought was really upsetting. But I felt like, you know, Aiden flipping his alliance, I think it was great for Aiden to flip. But something that I was kind of curious about was him not telling Squin. I thought that was interesting. Like leaving her out of the vote is something like I'm not too sure about.
Which again, like, because that's where like I kind of go, did he still potentially think that it was Squin? You know, that was going, and that's, you know, and in the end he was like, well, I just can't vote for Squin, I'm gonna vote for Maddie, and then it was a Maddie vote. So I don't know.
Yeah, obviously you see all the strat chats, you don't know the order that they're set.
No,
I feel like
right.
if you see the order, maybe you know the order, maybe that makes a lot more sense. But yeah, I definitely, if he did leave Squin out of the vote, that's extremely interesting. I don't particularly. I think outside of let's look at this question here. Outside of Aiden voting with the majority, who do you think offers more to the other four out of Squin and Aiden? I think it's 100% Aiden.
Yeah.
I think it's because when you're in a majority, in my opinion, when you're in a majority, you just need extra little foot soldiers to get your numbers, because no one's in a 6 majority or a 7 majority, and they're all as close as they are. But you can convince a 4 that you're all equal. You can convince a 4. Like it's not true, but you can convince a 4. Whereas outside of that, you have to kind of just grab a number. And I think I definitely think that's proof by even what Andrew said in the episode, where he mentioned Squint a few times, being like, she literally is a podcaster. I don't want a podcaster in the game. So I definitely think Aiden. Do you guys agree, or do you think Squint potentially, or is?
I think I agree, and also Aiden had really productive conversations with at least Oscar, I guess, and Andrew as well. I think from memory, whereas I guess Andrew's conversations with Squint just put a target on her back instead, and didn't really lead to we could vote together. So.
And Squint and her confessionals, and that was saying that she wanted to stick with her, with Kurawong. So, that's where her kind of thoughts and feelings would lie. But I think also at the moment, like, Aiden's still happy being number 5. Like, that was the vibe that I got, was that he wasn't going to try to push through, where I don't think Squint would sit in that position. It would be like, I want to make like triple sure that I am confident and safe here. And I think that would be threatening to some of the people in that, alliance or in that group of 4 right now.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And actually, something that Derek actually disagreed with us. I say Squint when they knows that John is getting close with the other Canberrans on the other side. With that, she offers an ally for them rather than a potential enemy. I get that with context of knowing everything, Derek. I would say that they don't know that. So, so like, based on what they know, I think is what I was thinking the answer with. I would say Aiden, but I think yes, everything, I actually would say Squint in regards to overall, because it's always good to have extra people on the other side. Just since it was spot on. See. I want more of this. I want more of these comments. I want more of, man, these guys are spot on. Man, what a great take, Deli.
Yeah.
What a great take with these people. Wow, how smart are these? We're not just pretty faces, guys. But yes, Tribal happened. We also got shown next time on. What were your thoughts in general of that? I think there's a lot of cool, exciting things from that potentially. I'm really excited for next episode.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen that.
Oh, you haven't seen it, Reggie?
No, I've missed
it. It's great. I definitely suggest you watch it. If anyone else hasn't watched it, please watch it. There's some cool stuff. The long story for me, which is like the main point from it, which is that John. They showed a confessional of John saying that he's getting really close with Todd and Ed, and basically just being very clear that I could definitely see John being sorry of, do I stick with the people that do I stick with tribal lines because there's tribal lines and I'm meant to be with these people, or do I stick with people that actually lie? And I definitely think Ed and Todd, which is what we expected. Ed and Todd are going to be.
That's what we said.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of potential for this episode. I think either vote. Like, there's normally when we do a tribe swap, it's like you really don't want a certain tribe to go because you're like, I'm pretty confident I know who's going. Whereas I don't particularly think, like, even in the Kurawong tribe, like, you naturally would go, well, Squint's probably going to go. But it's like, I could definitely see Pauline pulling in Squint and getting out Andrew. I can definitely see that. So there's a lot of interesting stuff. Any thoughts? Any final thoughts before we kind of wrap this up?
I just think great episode. It was, there was a lot going on. I enjoyed the fact that we got to see, a lot from both tribes on this episode. Like the episode previous was very heavily focused on the Ginninderra tribe, and that was just because of the way things fell. But the factor of this week having both, being able to see what happened after the original tribal, where their thoughts were with the patriotic thing, and then, after that, I'm very excited as the segue is about to go into to see where Ma Mountain has, fallen after all of this. So,
well, that's actually very interesting you said that, because we actually got a fan Marcus Moore has said, "Where's my mountain? What the fuck?" Calm down, Marcus. Calm down, other fans. Calm down. My mountain is here. It's the hottest segment in the world. Everyone's talking about it. I literally get stopped in the street and they're like, "I'll give you $20 to give me the my mountain for this week." And I say, no. Because it doesn't actually happen.
You need
It literally
to be
happens.
with Shandy status, you know?
It's getting crazy. I get stopped in the street. I've had to go into hiding. But yes, let's get into it. My mountain. And let's just say today it's going to be crazy, guys. And I think some people are going to be, look, I've made a lot of good friends that have, said, thank you for having me on the mountain. I really appreciate it. I've gotten a few messages from the people. And I hope that they remember that when they see this mountain. That's all I will say to start, because this is where we're at.
Ooh.
Pauline on top, the two there, and then Lauren, Anthony, Oscar. Some few attempts there. And this was the people close to the mountain. A few good people there.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there's a storm coming to the mountain. And guess what, guys? This Tribe Shoppers not only shook up the game, but it shook up my mountain. Nobody is on the mountain anymore. Dan is skiing past, picking up people left, right, and center. They are. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. It's nuts. Okay. It's bonkers. And so we're starting from scratch. Everyone's off, and they're all just scrappily trying to cling on to whatever they can. And these are the 6 people that managed to just, on the first kind of hike back up, have a bit of energy to get going. So here, we're going to go one at a time. We're going to make it more suspenseful this time. So first up, I love you, Pauline.
She's still there.
Please don't kill me. You're on the mountain still. You're on the mountain still. She's actually here. Comment. Whoa, Spill and Phil. You're on there. Pauline, you're on there.
Yeah.
You can sigh relief. Only reason why I say you're lower is because although I did respect where you are, and I think it's very good, I wanted a bit more Pauline in that first vote. So that's where I'll leave it. Next up.
Yeah, then.
Okay. My two precious children have fallen off the top. So that means, yet again, for the 3rd week in a row, there is a new person at the top of the mountain. This is crazy, guys. And not only that, they've both dropped. They keep dropping. This is not good. I really need them to fix their shit, to be honest. Pauline's still good. But I'll be honest. And I need something, man. I need something, because I'm losing faith real quick here. Number 3, new person on the list. We got Todd. I like Todd a lot. I feel like the eating challenge, and the reason why he's on the list is maybe something a bit niche for me, but I really liked that he asked with the Oscar with the throwing the challenge stuff, because I think that shows that you understand the game and are keen to do stuff. And I think in Tribe Shop period, throwing challenges is a part of the game, and I think it's something that shows that you're on it. So personally, there we go. Marcus puts Pauline instantly in tier 1 of the power rankings. Also, Marcus dramatically drops her off the top of the mountain. I don't control the mountain, James. I got to make this clear. I don't control the mountain. The gods come into me and it picks it, and I just let it be. So if you want to get mad at me, get mad at God. Okay, just saying. Not trying to say it's my fault. But we're going to tier 2, and Andrew's back. He's back, baby. He is back. I have faith in this man. And my mountain's about entertainment, and this man brought entertainment that entire time. So many good comments. The KFC Korean fried chicken comment that people were like they almost kind of went, haha.
They lift a bucket of KFC.
Yeah.
I loved it. Loved it. Andrew's on that list. He could definitely be someone that dies on the mountain, but I will happily let him die on the mountain if he can give me entertainment each week. Okay, we read our final 2. I think from memory, these people might be new, but we'll find out. I actually don't even remember, to be honest. Boom! Aiden on the list. I really was impressed by Aiden this episode. I kind of really saw him as a bit of like a just cattle ready just to kind of get slaughtered when he came in, but I really did think he adapted. And I was going to say before with the tribal stuff, I feel like he was in conversations with his last vote, but he was just kind of very monotone, where I feel like this time he was really actually trying to sell and really trying to pitch. And that to me is, as someone that has got to kick up the butt, is going to be way more dangerous than other people that are just still in good positions. So that's why it ends on the list. He definitely needs to keep it up if he wants to stay on the mountain. But we have a person at the top. Here we go. Boom.
Oh.
Oscar.
Yeah.
Oscar's on the mountain. He literally, it was crazy. He literally jumped over everyone's bodies as they were climbing out of the snow. And he's like, stuff you guys, I'm going to take this. I felt like all the information he gave us was great. All the confessionals were really good. Him saying that he was open to flip with Andrew was great. Telling Aiden about the vote was great. Nothing but positives for Oscar. And that's why he's on the top of the mountain. And then we got the four, actually it's three. And I've actually made this a little weird. So Lauren is a sort of, I need to see more of that tribe before I go there. Same with Ed. I liked the stuff at the start, but I obviously didn't see too much past that. But John, this next time on, has me red hot on the John. Like, I'm buying stocks. I'm buying John stocks. And this could even be, it's going to be a huge swing and a miss if he goes. But I could definitely see John flipping this game on its head. If he gets rid of someone huge, it could be crazy.
Yeah.
But that's definitely my list. That's the My Mountain for this week, guys. I want, what do we got? 4 Canberrans out there because Canberrans are the best. I like Canberra, so I'll allow it. I'd say Sydney's not.
Yeah, you'd be the world if
Yeah.
you're on here. So
Yeah, I guess technically. Can't spell Robs without Ed. Wow. Okay. So I can agree with that at least a little bit. But what's your guys' thoughts? I want your guys' opinions. I think it's controversial. I think I'm going to cop a little bit of Chris's first. But it's my list, and the gods choose it, not me. I'm just a vessel.
I think it's a good list. It was a dynamic episode. There are many people that could be climbing up that mountain. Maybe they're just struggling off the side or something. But you could put anyone there. Anything could happen. There's so many pathways for everyone.
Yeah, there's a mixture of loud personalities, quiet personalities, on the mountain. And, it's very interesting, and I enjoy the shake-up and the fact that, Dan came through skiing. So, I appreciate all of those graphics enough. Yeah,
look how happy
I am not talented. I have no idea how to use anything on a computer. That's why I work in the outdoors. So, the fact that other people can do this and you can do this is very impressive. So
it's literally disgusting. He's smiling at them. They're all struggling at the bottom of this mountain, and he's just there laughing at them. Okay, but where is Anthea? Justice for Sab. Okay, I'm gonna justify this. Okay, Anthea was barely in the episode, literally invisible. So if she comes in next time and crushes it, boom, she's back on that mountain. Same for Sab. Sab was the target. She could have easily been gone that episode. And then even though she was in the majority, she was the one that was least shown to me, which is bad. And it's like, for me, My Mountain is, yes, it's a little bit of power rankings, but for me, it's very based around entertainment. The reason why Mars at the top is because she was the most entertaining player on that season, in my opinion. She was killing it with confessionals, killing it with challenges, killing it with strategy. I want someone at the top that's going to do all that. And I think Oscar, for me, is currently the person that's doing that. He has cool confessionals. He's great in the challenges. He has stuff happening, and he's working. He's not just sticking with a majority, and he's always trying to do other stuff. Dan's getting in to make sure there's more women on the mountain this time. Hey, the women had their time for the past couple of weeks. But hey, this week, I genuinely believe this week was the week of the boys, because Aiden, Oscar, and Andrew, I think, killed it. I think they were the stars of the episode. But Pauline's there, and I know I've dropped her down a little bit, but in my opinion, Pauline, it's going to be very tough for Pauline to be off this mountain for me. She has to colossally shit the bed for me to take her off this mountain, because she's just killing it right now. But yes, that's my list. Eden is not happy with the mountain. Well, he's got to learn to be more interesting. Chase, unfortunately, because he was interesting at the start, hence why I put him at the top, and now he's letting me down, and he's embarrassing me in front of all my friends like Delia and Richie right now. And but that's the end, guys. I know this is a bit longer of a podcast, but we had so many thoughts and so many discussions, and I hope you guys had a great time. If you're listening live or later, feel free to give your comments and thoughts on everything. We'll post the power rankings and the My Mountain somewhere for people to tell us how wrong we are. hopefully directed at me. But thank you so much for Deli and Richie for giving up their amazing Monday night, the most valuable night of the whole week. And we're super excited to be a part of this. And yeah, next episode on Friday is going to be an absolute cracker. We'll see you guys there.
Oh, you're on mute, Marcus, but